Hey, good evening. It is a good evening because I get to hang out with a very, very good friend and we get to have an important conversation about employment. It's Shalom. I'm here, and you might hear some background noises because, like everybody, I'm at home, and that means that the dog is barking, everybody's running around. But that is the situation for so many of us right now. We've all experienced so much over these past few months, although it feels like it's been years now, through COVID. Lots going on in everybody's lives, whether it's, of course, physical health, mental health, employment. If it hasn't happened to you, you know somebody that it has happened to, and that's the reality for all of us. So, I wanted to connect with my very good friend Andrea Storz, who you'll meet in a second, who's up here on the screen. I'm so excited to do this. And Andrea and I have been talking, and we've been able to share advice with a lot of folks. And this is, as you can tell, a very informal sort of conversation with just both of us. We're sharing our private conversations with all of you that might be tuning in. And we're hoping that this will be a series of conversations on really the topics that matter to you guys, to our friends, what matters in the world of employment. So we're going to start the conversation today talking about how to kick off a job search. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Andrea Storz. Andrea is the Director of Employment Services at the ARC. And Andrea, in a moment, if I could ask if you could share a few words about the ARC.
Sure.
But Andrea is also the owner of ADMS Inc., which is a private career services and resume writing. And I mean, I just can't say enough good things about you, Andrea, because you are intuitive. That's always the word that I use to describe you, because
very diplomatic. Yeah. Okay.
No. You're intuitive. You meet with folks at all ends of the spectrum, whether a college student just coming out of college, a recent graduate, or a very mature job seeker, and you know how to read into their skills and put it on paper and help them with the interviewing and their whole career search. So that's what tonight is all about. So Andrea, can you tell anybody that might be tuning in about the ARC and about ADMS Inc.
Sure.
And then get right into the conversation?
Sure. I'll only take a couple of seconds. First of all, thank you, Shalom. This is always great. And Shalom's right. We banter back and forth a lot about employment. It is a passion for both of us. And I've been doing this a lot longer simply because of age. And in regard to the ARC is a social service agency serving the Jewish community in Chicago, and we are a one-stop shop. We have wraparound services. Anything you can think of, we are able to help with. We have medical, we have dental, we have optometrists, we have mental health. We, of course, are able to help financially with, if you can't pay a water bill, can't pay a heating bill, come talk to us. If you're having problems with your rent, with your mortgage, if we can help, we will. Of course, we have an employment division of which we are extremely proud. We offer a comprehensive package when it comes to employment, and we start at the very beginning. There are multiple complex steps before you can really achieve a productive job search. And we go through that. The one thing that the ARC is very proud of, there's my dog, Shalom, sorry. We really get to know our clients. We are not about the numbers. We are about the person. And the main thing to any successful job is finding the right fit. My private practice, which is called ADMS Inc., also deals with people who are either changing lanes professionally and they want a little assistance on how to do that gracefully. But as a whole, I am a job professional, and I want to go on record as saying there is no such thing as an expert in my field. If I were an expert, we would not have an audience. I would be retired and the world would be stable again, but that's not the way it is. We are here, at least I am here, to provide options and to perhaps give you the series of steps that are necessary to get where you want to go. And I think, Shalom, if I'm right, we're going to start out with what I think, and I'm sure Shalom agrees, the first step, which no, it's not a resume. No, it's not your LinkedIn profile. What it is getting to know who you are, especially in today's insanity. You might have been a sales associate 6 months ago. You might not be that person right now. I don't know. I'm just giving you an example. But being able to establish or reestablish your professional identity is essential to moving forward. Without that, you will have a resume that is flat and that really doesn't say very much. Your LinkedIn will be useless. So I think, Shalom, do you agree that knowing who you are, which by the way is not so easy. I can't tell you how many clients I ask, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And they look at me and there's this blank look. They go, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the age is.
Andrea, it drives me crazy when I talk to people, and I've been getting so many calls lately from folks that are in this position that, I mean, it's crazy when you think that just a couple of months ago, I'm very involved in Skokie, as you know, in the village of Skokie, and the unemployment rate in Skokie was, I think, hovering around like 3% right now. The last month it was upwards of 20%. And it's crazy to think how things have changed, but it drives me crazy when I get these calls. They're coming in regularly, and people are telling me that they're starting their job search, and I say, "Oh, so yeah, what are you doing?" And they're telling me that they went on Indeed. Like, what? Are you crazy? That's not how you start a job search. The truth is, I mean, Andrea, I'm curious what you think about this, but what I always tell people is that the only part, the first part of your job search certainly should not be done online. No. Probably neither should the second part or the third part. There is a phase of the online piece. The only part really that's done online is really just research and looking into job titles and different organizations. But really, and we'll talk about all of the things that you do need to do. And, all of those tools, LinkedIn is awesome. I know both you and I are the biggest proponents of LinkedIn, but yeah, you do not start a job search online.
Well, you really don't. You can't start a job search until you're confident with what your professional identity is. The big word is networking. That's like, phew, all right. But if you don't know who you are, you cannot network effectively. So what I suggest that you all do is you need to breathe. You need to take a step back. You need to do something painful, which is coming face to face with what's real, what's honest, what's effective. I'll tell you a very short story. I had a client who was really unsure what direction she wanted to go into. And then she said, you know what? I could go into editing. And I went, really? I said, I don't see any conventional positions on your resume. Please talk to me. She said, well, I edited all my kids' college papers and all their friends' college papers, and they all did extremely well. And I said, well, that is a skill that you can definitely include in a resume, that you are excellent at editing and proofreading, but that's not who you are. So what I suggest is that you look deep down inside, you pull out all these skills, you look at them, and you kind of figure out where they can be most effectively applied. But the thing that will help you the most, try and remember where your achievements were as a result of knowing how to use these skills. Were you able to grow a database of new clients? Well, let's go into how good your communication is. Are you in customer service? Are you in sales? Are you a trainer? Are you an educator? It starts to take on this energy. And once you have this energy, you will feel better about making a choice. With that being said, we all have a lot of different talents, a lot of different skills. You may need more than one resume. That's fine, but it has to be strong, concise, and not a laundry list, if that makes sense.
It does, Andrea. And so, when somebody has been in a career, we can go in a couple of different directions over here. For somebody just getting out of college, we'll probably have to schedule a whole nother conversation to talk about the world that they're in. Oh my gosh. But for somebody that's been in an established career for quite a while, and then all of a sudden the world, topsy-turvy world comes, and suddenly they're out. And they now have to figure out, like you said, who they are and what that dream job looks like. So let's just walk through basics, because those that might be tuning in, a lot of folks are just really, really struggling. And there's so many great tools that are out there, but just view them as tools. Those are not there's no replacement for, bottom line, there's nobody that's going to own your job search as much as you and your network and everything like that. So let's start with the basics. What should somebody do when they find out their job was eliminated? They have to start looking for something new. What's the first thing that they need to do?
Well, I don't know if there's a first thing, but there's a collection of ideas you can choose from, depending on what you were doing. And the best way to kind of get my point across is to use an example. You're a sales associate. You're a sales professional. You are no longer a salesperson. You have been terminated. You've been furloughed. You have been told, sorry, you just don't fit the mold anymore. Think about the skills. You've been furloughed. You have as a sales professional. You know what a customer is thinking. You've been on both sides of the fence. So what can translate, what can take your wonderful skills as a sales associate and be effectively applied into a peripheral type of position? Customer service. You know how to listen to that customer. You will even anticipate what they're going to say before they say it. Why? Because you have been on the sales end of it. That's one thing you can do, is kind of strategically spread the profession you had and find out what other types of professions can be a cousin of this. And then you move forward. And again, you go through your skill set, you see what fits. That's one way to do it. That would be the first thing that I would do.
Yeah, and resume does play a role, and your cover letter perhaps plays more of a role than your resume. Your LinkedIn, because bottom line, when somebody's, I'll be honest, I stalk people all the time. And hopefully, if people are being professionals, then hopefully the first result when somebody Googles your name is going to be your LinkedIn profile. That's your online resume. That's the first, glimpse that people will have at you. So
you're absolutely right. But you have to know who you are. In order for your resume and your LinkedIn profile to pop, to have that strong snapshot, you got to take these first steps. Figure out who you are and what direction you want to go into. By the way, you mentioned cover letter. This is a real thing with me. I happen to think that a cover letter, everyone says, I love that term. Everyone says that no one reads a cover letter. I am asking you to believe me when I say that is absolutely not true. And a cover letter not only is able to show a personal part of you, but someone who is hiring wants to see how you write, wants to see your grammar, wants to see if you rely totally on spell check. And if you do, there are definitely going to be mistakes, and that will be a red flag for them. It's not like it once was. Everything is strategic. Everything is analyzed. But with that being said, once you are able to get into that sphere, Shalom is right on the money. Those are your two most important marketing tools. But the networking factor, more than the online stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is key. Absolutely key. And by the way, networking doesn't mean that you go to a networking event and you go, hi, I do A, B, C, D, E, and you walk out thinking you have a lead. It's about the development of relationships. And you can.
Sure. Oh, for sure. And we, trust me, we will have a whole conversation about networking. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm going to have a lot to say on that subject. And we're going to talk about networking as it relates to the period that we're in, because I'll be honest, I don't think that the era of regular, call it networking events and happy hours and breakfast events is coming back anytime soon. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there are tools that you can have. I mean, we're doing it right now. We're having this chat, and I haven't seen you in person in months. And the reality is that actually this period, I'll tell you personally, it's been a period that I've been more connected than ever. Yep. I've been more connected. I've been sitting on so many Zooms. I've been educating myself, and I've been connecting with people. So, I mean, just to connect the dots over here, I mean, Andrea, what advice, I don't want this conversation to go on too long, because I know we're going to talk about a lot of these, break down some of the other steps. We'll talk about resumes in its own conversation. We'll talk about networking in its own conversation. But in this era of COVID, what are some of the things that you have found that has worked? What are some of the areas that people have been successful, even in this ridiculously impossible job market? What's working?
Well, I'm going to tell you that it's a great question, and it's a hard question.
Yeah.
The only thing certain today is the uncertainty. That's it. That's all you can rely on. My suggestion for this time, which in many ways, and please don't misunderstand this, is a gift for people to kind of take a breath. There are several ways to look at this: reinvention, reestablishment, using your background and making a professional lane change. There's so many exciting things you can do. And I don't want to sound like Mary Poppins here. It's not easy, and it's very frustrating. But there are things that you can do to become stronger and more confident. There's a whole bunch of information available to study on very different areas of business. And that's what I suggest you do. You have to educate yourself, and this is a prime time to do it. That's what I would do.
That's great advice, and I agree that you've got to. The only way to remain sane in this period is you have to find the silver lining. By the way, a silver lining and new normal are probably the two terms. If we were to create a word cloud of all the words that are being thrown around right now, those are the top on my list. Everybody's talking about the silver lining, but there is a silver lining even in this very, very, very tough period. So, folks are getting out there. They know they need to find themselves. They need to figure out who they are. You could do research, but you should also do a lot of soul searching and have a lot of conversations with the people that are closest to you. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. And there are two things that I want to bring up. One is there is something that all of you, I think, might benefit from, and that's flexibility. If you don't have the flexibility to entertain new ideas and to really accept that you might not be able to return to the level of employment that you once were at, it will be a much healthier approach toward the job search itself. The other thing that I'd like to suggest, when you are unemployed, a lot of terrible things can happen to you. You find yourself sleeping more. you find yourself watching a lot of TV. Although the only thing on now is MSNBC, but you fall into this kind of semi-depression. And what I suggest in order to fight all of this is to create a sense of schedule for yourself every single day. After you hit that snoozer 35 times, okay, get up, go for your walk with a mask, go for your walk, have your coffee, whatever, and break your day down. And no one looks for a job 10 hours a day. So don't go down that route. That's insane. There are different things you can do. One thing I will suggest during this scheduled kind of day, the one thing, Shalom mentioned something about online. I'll tell you what's very powerful about online. It will help give you ideas. Start reading job descriptions. Find out what the running theme is for you. And it will give you ideas in terms of, you know what? I never thought of doing that. I'm going to look at more jobs in this area. Little by little, you start building this database of opportunity and you start to feel better. You start to feel hopeful. And sometimes it's a struggle. And I am begging each and every one of you, when you feel yourself really unable to get out of that emotional quicksand, go do something. Go look online. Go for a walk. Do something. Do not let it get inside of you. That will hold you back.
I agree with you 100% on two things that you just said. Number one, that again, using the only part of the job search that should be done online is the research. And yes, for some of you that might be listening, things have changed in your career, in your profession, since you started in that job that you loved, and maybe you just, because of the economy, you no longer have. So it's possible that the job titles may have changed. Do that research, familiarize yourself, sit on professional development webinars if they are available, because there is so much that's available and completely and totally free. And so take advantage of this time to do that. And then the other piece that you mentioned is absolutely, having a schedule. Don't try to apply for jobs 10 hours a day, because it's not about quantity, it's about quality.
Right.
It's quality, and it's about literally, I'll tell you, I think that you should create a spreadsheet of, maybe that's just the type of guy that I am, but create a spreadsheet of sort of keeping track of who you've talked to, what jobs you've applied to, and who you know that is connected to those jobs. So find the system that works for you. I'm a spreadsheet guy, so that works for me, but definitely have a physical, fitness routine. Go for a walk, go for a jog, do something, stay active, make time. Right now, I can't say nobody, but I'm not going out to eat or anything like that. So, block out time for lunch, dinner, that sort of thing. Make sure you're keeping a regular schedule. Don't be down and out, and don't stay in bed later just because you don't have that, that job to go to. Create a schedule times to catch up with friends and family. And you'll find that as you start to have these conversations with people and you're telling people like, hey, here's the story here's the situation that I'm in, people will share ideas with you.
Right.
But stay active, stay social. It's good for your mental health. It's good. I've done some socially distant walks, which have been amazing, and catching up, and it's good. I'm getting out there and walking and all that good stuff. But yeah, definitely book yourself. I'll say that for myself, I like to book myself solid, but I won't necessarily give that advice to everybody. Book yourself for a schedule that works for you.
You got to feel productive. That's the whole key. Once you feel productive, you have a certain energy. With that being said, something else I'd like to suggest to you, and it's not necessarily having to go on site. Let's say you are in development. Let's say that's an area that you really succeeded in. You're having a hard time finding the right fit for yourself. So call these nonprofits and say, this is my background. This is what I've done. I'm absolutely willing to work remotely. I'd like to volunteer for your organization 4 hours a week. Don't start thinking that you have to volunteer 40 hours a week. That's insane. However, once they see that you have gotten new donors during an economic collapse and a pandemic, they're going to go into their board meeting and say, why aren't we hiring her? There are all different kinds of ways that you can get recognized, feel productive, and find out if this is the right field for you or not. So it's kind of a win-win-win situation. And I strongly encourage that. By the way, the term intern is no longer about college kids only. It's for everybody. And there are paid internships. There are unpaid internships. Internships are a wonderful way for you to make that graceful, professional lane change.
I have to ask Andrea, it's on my mind now. I can't get it out of my head. Have you watched The Intern with Robert De Niro?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh, it is such a great movie. It is such a great movie. And Robert De Niro is, I don't know how old. Oh, it's fantastic. And it's exactly that. It's somebody that's mature and a successful business guy. And he decides, hey, I have time on my hands. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be an intern. And
well, Bobby and I are like this. So that's where I got the idea.
It's going to be, yeah, no, it's a great movie. And hey, listen, I agree with you. All kidding aside, it's not far-fetched. And just focus this time on you. Focus this time on becoming the best, taking care of yourself personally. Because again, going back to how we started is sort of how we'll start to wrap it up, is I know, and I know you know, Andrea, so many people are going through so much right now.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot, and you need to take care of yourself. And part of taking care of yourself is, yes, starting to, research and figure out how you can advance. And I can tell you story after story after story of things that I can tell you personally because of getting involved in volunteering. Sometimes volunteer, sometimes, paid internships, all that sort of stuff, how it's led to just a multitude of opportunities. So take advantage of these things. That, going back to the foundation of where we started with this, that is where you should start your job search. It's really in the basics. Don't get down nitty gritty into on day one, you were just laid off and you start applying to jobs on Indeed. I'm not sure that there's ever a place for that in the job search. That's for a separate conversation. But no, day one, you do not start applying for jobs. You hold your horses on that. You start with figuring out who you are.
I just want to say two more things and then I'll shut up.
You're good.
The one thing I want to tell you is that I'm encouraging you to look into the ARC. There are no fees for the ARC. Every single service you get is free. I am a professional resume writer. Shalom has seen probably 200 to 300 of my resumes. I promise you that you will get a customized resume that is about you. I never use a template. I find them offensive. So I'm just telling you, and there's so much more than just a resume writing. We will help you to negotiate your salary, to interview, and we do it on Zoom. I will meet with you gladly on Zoom if you are interested. Please call the ARC directly. You will have to go through an intake session, which is painless. That's number one. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, everyone in your life knows what you should do about your joblessness. Everyone has the answer for you, that you should do this, you should talk to this one. After a while, I'm sure a lot of you feel like your head is going to explode, or you might just hurt the person that's talking to you, and you don't want to do that. So my suggestion to you, when someone starts lecturing you on what you should do and what is the best steps for you to take, rather than get upset, rather than have your blood pressure escalate. Listen, tell them, thank you. You know what? Not a bad idea. Let me think about it. The conversation ends nicely. Whoever is speaking to you walks away feeling like, I'm all that, I'm a hero. You walk away without having to take 6 to 7 Advils. Everyone's good. So I think you have to start learning through this incredibly difficult time how to handle situations on all levels. So I wish you all luck and come back because we have a lot of stuff to talk about.
We do. This is just a conversation. Maybe I should have had my cup of coffee over here. You can have your cup of coffee. We could have a virtual cup of coffee with each other. And if anybody's tuning in, you can engage with us that way. And by the way, just on that note, and Andrew, by the way, such a pleasure, so much fun, and we will talk a lot more. If anybody has ideas of things that you want, the two of us to talk about in the future, I put on our fancy schmancy scrolling thing over here at the bottom, the websites, and you can contact me through my website, shalomklein.com. Andrea, in a second, you can share your contact information.
Okay.
And I would encourage people, we're sharing this on social media and all that. Just submit a comment or whatever it is. Let us know what you're struggling with. We won't share your name unless you want us to. When we talk, but we will try to make this as relevant to you as possible. We will keep the conversation going. We've already I've written down over here. We got to talk resumes, cover letters, networking, LinkedIn.
It goes on and on and on and on.
It's never ending. And my hope is that as we go through these, those of you that might be tuning in that are in the job search, you will no longer be in the job search, but you'll be able to pay it forward and send this along to somebody else. So that's my wish for everybody over here. Andrea, how can people get a hold of you?
Best way is through my email, Storz, STORZ, at Chicago.org. And I really hope you do let us know, because you know what? For us to be effective and have any type of impact, this is about you. This is not about us. And in order for you to benefit from what we're doing, let us know what you want to know. And we will do our best to provide the information.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So, Andrea, again, a pleasure. Great first conversation. We'll continue this. And, at some point, maybe you and I will be sitting socially distant across from each other, but for now we'll have the dogs barking in our respective houses.
Works for me.
Hey, yeah. And again, check out arcchicago.org and shalomklein.com. And I know on both of our sites, as it relates to the ARC and my website, constantly sharing all sorts of information and relevant tips and encourage everybody. Definitely, Andrea, your
website as well.
Yes.
We're putting up a lot of stuff, and check our YouTubes, and we have stuff that may or may not help. Look, the truth is, take what works for you and throw the rest out. Not everyone is going to have the right answer for you. So just check us out.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, Andrea, have a good evening. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.